What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Combat Corporation, your source of combat sports. I'm your host, Al the Postmaster Morrow, and today I have a gear review on the Sanabul Lab Series training gloves. Alright folks, as always, I'm incredibly excited to bring you yet another gear review, as today I have another pair of professional boxing gloves in the Sanabul lineup. Today we have the Sanabul Lab Series training gloves. Now, these gloves were released about 7 to 8 months ago, and I got the second batch because the first batch sold out that fast on the day of release. I think a lot of it had to do with Gilbert Burns really promoting it on his Instagram, on his social media pages, and even in his embedded series. And I can't remember the exact fight. It was either the embedded series for his fight with Masvidal or Bilal Muhammad, where he said and showed himself using these gloves, saying that I helped design these are the best gloves I've ever used, or something along those lines, which is really cool because Gilbert Burns is sponsored by them. So when I saw that, naturally I went on Sanabul's website and said, coming soon, and it was the Lab Series. And so now they have a whole lineup of Lab Series stuff, and their whole thing is basically high-tech science meets MMA equipment, which is really cool. So not only do they have boxing gloves, I think one day they'll probably release MMA gloves of the same kind. They don't have them yet, but they have punch mitts, kick shields, punch paddles, like the noodle things. They also have battle ropes, medicine balls, I think hand wraps they saw. So they have a whole lineup of Lab Series equipment. So if you're interested in any of that, you can head to sanabul.com or go on Amazon and check them out. And then on top of it, with Sanabul, for me, they are a massive brand nowadays. And I want to say they were released in maybe 2013 through 16, somewhere in that range. It might have been earlier than that. But I remember big names like TJ Dillashaw, Michael Bisping were signed to Sanabul. And from there, they just blew up. I mean, most of the time I saw Sanabul, it was beginners. And even nowadays, I see most of their market targeting that beginner to intermediate crowd. But now they have really good professional equipment, such as the Gold Strikes that I reviewed a couple years ago, the Gold Strike boxing gloves, which I said were really good for MMA. Not as great for boxing, but really good for MMA. And then the Gold Strike MMA sparring gloves, which I think are up here, they are, that I absolutely loved as well. And many pros love these gloves. And you can talk about guys that use their gloves, such as Sean O'Malley, Gilbert Burns, Sean Strickland, Francis Ngannou even has used them, John Jones, Clay Collard in the PFL uses them a ton. Max Holloway is sponsored by them. You can name a ton of different people. I think I said Sean O'Malley already. He has his whole lineup as well. But Sanabul is a massive brand for MMA, which is absolutely awesome. And I actually just did a ton of unboxings of a bunch of Sanabul products. So if you want to go check those videos out and see what's to come in the future for some more reviews, go ahead and go check those out. They're one of my last two videos from this recording anyway. But with that said, guys, let's go ahead and get into the review of science meeting MMA equipment. So I'm really excited about this because I've been using them. I gave them the time test, if you know what that is, if you've been around the channel. Basically, as a professional MMA fighter, I'm in the gym 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes 7. And even on my off days, I'm off doing something else when it comes to training. But I want to make sure that these will last me for as long as they need to during like a fight camp training. I want to make sure I can smash the bags, pads, and spar with them. Make sure that if they work for me, they will definitely work for you who maybe you are a pro, maybe you are just an average guy that likes to go once or twice a week, or maybe you're someone that just likes to hit the bag at the YMCA. Up to you, but I want to make sure that these gloves work. So I really put them through the test. And so far, as you can see, they really held up for the last 7 months since they were released. But let's go ahead and go into the review. Starting off with my model that I have for you guys today. I have, as you can see, they are black. They come in hook and loop, which means Velcro closure. And they come in a couple different sizes. I got them in 16. Unfortunately, you can't change the color yet, though I do think a nice white or gray type color would work really good for this because of the look and basic look of the glove in general. And then also, you can't get them in lace-up yet. So if you are a boxer and you really prefer the lace-ups, unfortunately, they're not available yet. I think they might, if the glove gets good reception by people, just like the Gold Strikes did, eventually come out with a lace-up version. And then on top of it, once again, they only come not only in black and hook and loop, but you got a couple different sizes to pick from. You got 10, 12, 14, and 16 ounces. I went with 16 because that fits my hand pretty good. As a bigger guy, and the other sizes work very well. Actually, if you go on Amazon, you can see all the reviews of different people using different sizes, and they say it's very true to size, which is good. Although I think if they add an 18 ounce, that would completely fill the market of what everyone could use, because even someone like me, if I can get 18s, I will often choose 18s because I am about 250 plus pounds, so that's just kind of, you know, the ratio in your head that you use. But the model I have, once again, black, hook and loop, 16 ounces. You got a couple different size options, 10, 12, 14, and 16 ounces. Now, when we go into the look of the glove, as you can see, it is all that nice black, and it looks like leather. Usually I talk about that when it comes to the design of the glove, but you can see it looks like it has all those individual grain marks. But the funny part is Sanabul does not use any leather products at all. No animal products. This is all engineered leather here. So what you do here is you look here and you can see that all that nice gunmetal black, it has a nice shine to it and it has a nice groove texture to it. And then on top of it, you can see the embossed Sanabul logo, which is like a rubberized material, kind of feels like plastic, that's embossed into the engineered leather there. And then you see the sweeping lines. I call things like these Tron designs because, you know, if you know Tron from Disney, it kind of has that techno type look to it, you know, and I imagine like lights going through those lines. That would make it look really cool. And it comes to a circle at the tip of the thumb here. So as you see those sweeping lines on the back, it's a basic design just to give it that cool little pizzazz to it, I guess you could say. You have a basic black thumb attachment right in the center there. And when you turn around to the grip bar, which is made out of that engineered leather, you can see the palm has a nice big reflective material going throughout there. And it feels just like a basic vinyl that you'd get on a ton of other gloves. It's a little bit more durable. Feels like a ringside Apex glove throughout those vinyl parts. Very smooth, yet grippy at the same time. Feels really comfortable. And then at the bottom of the wrist strap, you can see that not only the wrist strap has that reflective material going throughout, but you can see that here you have another white Sanabul logo embossed into the engineered leather here. And then on the other side, you can see the Sanabul lettering across there. But once again, look at that sweeping lines going across there. It gives it that nice shine. Makes me wonder what the shine would be like if they put that material here. But I don't know if that would make the molding difficult for the padding that we'll talk about later on. When you open up the glove, you can see that there's even more reflective material on this side, but not on this side. So it's a very basic look on this side. The Velcro is black as usual, and the interior lining is also black. But another interesting thing that I saw, I don't really get the point of these, probably just to add weight. If you can see little rubber patches at the end, they have a Sanabul logo there, and you have another one on the inside right there. So if it focuses on that, pretty good. But it's a really small design. I don't know if you can see that too well. The other thing too you might notice if you have this glove is that it opens up really wide. I actually had to cut the elastic strap that used to be here in the center because it was just too tight on my palms, but we'll go into that in a second here. But as far as look goes, when you buy the glove, you will have that elastic strap going across. Now when we talk about the build of the glove, once again, the outer shell is made out of a very nice, it says premium quality engineered leather that they have, and it feels a little bit different from the Gold Strike in that the Gold Strike kind of have like a bumpy, like raised feel, whereas this is very smooth. And honestly, if someone told you that it was leather, you'd believe them. It feels just like leather, and it feels just like a nice soft leather hide. If I had to like equate it to another fake leather or engineered leather, it feels very much like the Vylar and Hayabusa gloves. So I love how that feels, and it gives it that nice classic look to it. And it's not too thick of like a material over the padding, but it's thick enough. You know, you got about maybe 1/4 of an inch coming off there, and it's not stretched tightly over the padding. The reason why I don't like when leather or fake leathers are stretched so tightly over the padding is because the padding's always kind of compact. So when you hit it, it's just always taking a beating instead of it just relaxing. It's kind of like putting your head on a pillow. If it's on there for too long, it's just going to keep sinking in and in and in, and then you keep fluffing it, and in time, it's just going to stay flat from your head. So that's the idea. You don't want it to stay so tight. So the entirety of the glove, except for those vinyl parts that you saw earlier, is all that engineered leather. Even down here on the wrist strap is that same engineered leather. It looks just like leather with the, you know, the fake little grain marks going throughout there. So I really like the attention to detail that they had there. It's cool that Sanabul does that. So if you're like into vegan products or you don't like using animal products, Sanabul's definitely a brand for you, because nothing they have has any type of animal leather. They actually have gloves that have like grape and cactus leather, which is cool. When we talk about the padding, we can talk about one solid molded foam, basically meaning that it is one solid piece from this part of the wrist up, as you can see. So basically you get rid of this wrist strap here, and the rest of this, all the padding is one solid mold. And it is a very soft, multi-layered foam padding that you get in a lot of other Japanese style gloves. However, it isn't necessarily so rounded like a Japanese style glove. If I take like a Winning out to show you here, it's not quite as curved as you can see as the Winning. It's a little bit more rounded towards the top, I'd say. And what that does is it creates a little bit more distance between your knuckles and the target, and it's also good protection over the knuckles. I'd say it's about a soft texture, medium soft, or just a regular soft texture compared to everything else, and it's very safe to spar and hit bags in. The thumb has a very nice curve to it, although it is a wider thumb than Winning as well. As you can see, Winning thumb is very short and curved in, focused in on the weight object, whereas this is kind of curved in and very fat. You know, it's the other one was much more narrow. So you have a much fatter thumb here, but it's in a nice, comfortable punch position. And then the foam on the back of the hand as well feels really good. It's a nice, soft foam on the back of your wrist to give you a little bit more wrist stabilization on the back. And you also have that padding that leads all the way to the tips of the fingers as well to give you the nice, comfortable feel. It's also very padded at the tip of the thumb, so you won't be jamming your thumb and having that uncomfortable feel, especially with how padded that is, which I like about this glove. And when we come to the palm, the grip bar is made out of that engineered leather, and it is very soft grip bar. It's softer than the initial padding itself. You know, it just kind of feels like a very soft, like memory foam-ish type of foam that's going on the inside here. And then as you can see in the inside of the thumb with some more reflective material, except for the thumb piping, which is actually that engineered leather, and then it goes to vinyl here. You can see some breathe holes going through there. That way you can breathe out some air a little bit when you train. And then down here, you got more of that reflective material, and it has really good single line stitching, or yeah, single line stitching. I thought it was double for a second, but it is single and double actually. If you go single up here, double around here. The only thing, like I said, I did not like, there was an elastic strap here, but when I put my hand on, my palm went through too much, and I'll show you that in a second. When you open the glove, so I can show you the rest of the palm, the first thing I'm going to show you is the Velcro is just not very good. It's flopping off like that, and it comes off way too easy. And the Velcro has not worn down any. It's a very durable glove because of the materials that it's made out of, but the Velcro is just not very strong. It does not grab good at all. And just by barely touching it, it's just flying off. So you're gonna find yourself taping these a lot, especially if you really just pat that down and it just flaps off. You know, even if you put it on in the middle, it just flaps off even worse, actually. So it's not very good Velcro, which kind of sucks because the glove could be a lot better if the Velcro, that's an easy fix for me. Because the other gloves by Sanabul, I always notice that the Velcro patches kind of fall off, just like my Gold Strike MMA sparring gloves, which I need to stitch because this often happens with the Velcro. But the only thing is, you kind of have the opposite here in that this glove, the Velcro stays in good, but it doesn't clip on good, which is annoying. But when we open the glove here, you can see that the palm has some padding here. It's more like your rubber patch that you see. It's like a very stiff EVA foam, and for me, that's a weight balance foam. And basically what that means, guys, is certain brands need to meet a certain weight. So if this glove has to be 16 ounces and it doesn't meet it just with the padding alone, they put a little bit of extra foam towards the bottom to try and balance out the weight. So say you had 15 ounces, they need 1 ounce to go, they put that little rubber patch in and you're all set, just to add some more weight to the glove. a common practice that most brands do. It's not really scamming you or anything. Everyone does it except for some very high-end brands that are very precise with things. But in this case, that's what it feels like to me. It does also help weigh down and clip onto your wrist a bit more. But in this case, it just feels like a counterbalance. It's not a padded palm at all. Really, it's all just a regular material. So if you like a more padded palm for, say, partner drills, definitely not the best glove for that, and it's very stiff to open, which I'll show in a second, so it's very hard to catch in these gloves. The other thing too is the wrist strap is connected right to the inside or the outside of the glove to go inside to your thumb, and it's supposed to curve pretty tight, but for me it's just really short and a really stiff wrist strap. The interior lining when you open this glove is your basic poly cotton stuff going on, only it's a little bit more foamy, so it is a nice, comfortable, soft texture when you put your hand on the inside. It's very smooth like silk, which is really nice. When I put my hand on the inside of the glove, the first thing I notice is I have to push my fingers through some material, and right out of the box, the material was super bunched up at the tip of my fingers. I can't really show that on camera, but basically it just feels like there's a wad of like fabric just at the tip of my fingers, which makes it hard to kind of keep a form-fitted fist because I have to constantly squeeze. And then on top of it, it still feels super tight at the base of my wrist and the top and the bottom part of my palm here, which I really don't like. Now, when I strap it, I'm going to strap it super tight. That's the thing why I don't like the short wrist cuff, because it doesn't strap all that tight to my wrist. I'm trying, and it might just be my anatomy, guys, but it's up there as far as I can go. It's very stiff to open, and on top of it, kind of like the HMIT Combat Corner gloves I talked about, when I open my hand, my fingers kind of creep down the glove, and I don't like that. So my fingers, I have to push myself in again, should be here at the tip, right? Whereas if I open it, very difficult to open, so they're not very good for MMA sparring or Muay Thai because they don't open that great. They don't have great grips either, very weak grip here. And it's just uncomfortable. I have to force my hand so wide open and push it up to get it that wide. And even then, it just feels like I'm like squeezing a resistance band. The thumb's in a comfortable position, and it's in a nice form-fitting fist, and it does protect your wrist pretty well because of that. I think it curves down a little bit too much, but my fingers just creep down all the time, which basically makes my wrist come down here, so when I punch, my wrist isn't as protected because I'm punching in a very awkward spot. So my hand constantly crawls down in these gloves. Now, if you're asking, well, Al, is it because you cut that elastic strap and it's supposed to stay on? No. It did that when the elastic strap was on there, and it hurt my hand because it was so tight towards the front. Not so much toward the back. There's tons of room for knuckle pads on the inside, and you can wrap your hands up really good in this. It's overall a somewhat comfortable fit, but I just hate that my fingers constantly creep down. They feel really awkward. The fabric towards the top is all bunched and it just gets raveled. That really ruins a glove experience for me, especially when I'm hitting bags or sparring and I have to constantly do this. So I'll pop, pop, pop. I gotta fix it. Pop, pop, pop. Gotta fix it. Hate that feeling. So with that said, overall good, comfortable hand compartment. Just wish it would just not let me do this so easily. It does not clip too good on your wrist at all. It has okay wrist support, though I do think it curves you down just a bit too much, which will cause that action going. But in general, comfort's okay. Performance and protection of your knuckles is great because of that padding. I think the padding and the material is great, very durable glove. But let's go ahead and go into the bag work so you can see them, and then we'll come back with my final results. So the first thing you're going to notice when you punch the bag is that they do cradle your knuckles very well, but like I said, they just form your fist down too much, and every time you open your hand, your fingers just kind of crawl down, and it is a little uncomfortable feeling, but you're able to wail into the bag as hard as you want, so it's very protective over the knuckles, very good protective padding for your knuckles, and it does protect your wrist decent, but it still curves down just a bit much for my liking. So going into the cool look of the glove, you can see the nice sweeping lines. That solid black is going on there. And overall, Sanabul is a very recognizable brand, especially in your MMA gym. So some of your teammates might be asking you where you got those and why those gloves look so sharp. But you can even see some of the Velcro kind of flying off here as you hit the bag. But overall, the look of the glove is pretty sharp. I like the futuristic look. Alright folks, I know my videos are usually long and this one's longer than usual, but like I said, I want to get every single detail down from the thread to the performance. That way I can tell you if I would get these again, especially if I'm going to be a professional athlete using these every day as my primary pair of training gloves. Now before I really tell you more about how I feel about the glove, I want to start out by saying this. The amount of research I do into everything between what the materials are made of, how those materials are made, who uses them, what are the reviews like everywhere between Amazon, YouTube reviews, Google reviews, website reviews. And I will say a lot of the reviews were absolutely positive with these gloves. C Squared, even someone who I hold to a very high standard as far as glove reviews go, said that these were his favorite gloves by Sanabul. I saw on Amazon they had over like 90 reviews, and most of them were 4 out of 5 stars, 5 out of 5 stars. And I'm going to be blunt, I was really surprised by that because I just don't really like these gloves. I didn't have the greatest time using them. I used them a lot so I could break them in and really get a good feel for them so you could understand how I felt about them as a fighter. I think that as far as construction goes, like materials-wise, this glove is amazing. I think the materials that they use and for the price that you get for those materials is probably right on the money. But as far as performance goes, the glove just didn't hold up to par for me. It just wasn't up to par. And I'm going to start with the positives before I go into the negatives. Starting out with, these gloves are 7 months old and they look brand new still. They don't feel brand new as far as the padding being broken in. The padding's definitely not like warped in any way. It's not bubbled in any way. I think the padding is very, very, very well made, just like the Sanabul Gold Strikes, which don't really have that many signs of wear. There's some bubbling here or there because I've had these for 3 or 4 years now and I've been using them for a while, whereas these, I've only had them for 7, 8 months now at this point, and the padding is held up very well. The exterior shell is held up very well. Because it is an engineered leather, they are super easy to clean, which is awesome. The padding for your knuckles is amazing. I think this is the best padding that Sanabul has for any of their gloves. It definitely beats their Essentials series as far as the padding goes and the padding composition. This is the same type of padding composition that you get in a lot of other gloves around the same price range, and I think that's right on the money. And I think as far as like the interior lining material, it's very comfortable. It just bunches up a bit too much towards the tips of the fingers. So if they fix that, I think that's a very easy fix. To just stretch that out, make it a little bit tighter, kind of like as tight as winning goes. But that's kind of what happens when you get like those baggy, soft, foamy liners. Very hard to stop them from bagging up because they're not thin. They're a little thicker. They got foam in it. They also have the very thick fabric that goes through. That's just kind of how it works for whatever reason. But for me, the interior lining feels comfortable. There's tons of room to wrap your hands in. Overall, I think the durability of the glove, this glove would last you for a long time because of the materials that they're made out of. But now I'm going to talk about the things I don't like. Starting out with, for one, that elastic strap that I literally had to cut off the glove to make this glove usable for me. When I put my hand on the inside of the glove, I'll talk about the Velcro in a second. You all saw how weak that was, but when I put this on, even without the elastic strap, look how much my palm protrudes from the front of this glove. And it's not comfortable because even up here towards the top is so tight on my palm. And like I said, probably just an anatomical thing. It could be just because I have larger hands. So maybe this glove isn't great for bigger people. But if you see Gilbert Burns' hands, even for a welterweight, he's not a small guy. And I can imagine that he could have the same issues with that. Maybe not because they're more designed for his hands. But I do have very thick palms, which is frustrating. Especially my coach always wraps my hands. It's like wrapping catcher's mitts. But for me, it was so tight that I had to cut that off. The other thing, like I said, that drove me nuts is how weak this Velcro is. For one, the wrist strap is so short when I stretch it over, it doesn't even meet the opposite end. There's still like an inch or two left of the regular, of the loop strap here, like the soft part of the Velcro that I need to get. So all it needs to do to lift up, boom, that easy. And it just flops off like this all the time. And for me, if you're going to spend $150 on gloves, which is what these are worth, I could think of a ton of other gloves to get, as far as that goes. So the Velcro is horrible, and I have to tape them virtually every time I spar in them or even hit the bag, because if I'm hitting this eventually, even if I don't hit the Velcro on anything on the bag, you'll just see it every now and again, punch, 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 lift. Which means that it's not going to give me the best wrist support if this thing's constantly going to flap off. So I really don't want that. The other thing is I feel like the glove, as far as wrist support goes, it does curve down just a little bit too much. I found myself banging my wrist once or twice simply because right here, my wrist is good, but the more I open and strike with the glove, the more my fingers creep out of the glove, even when I have hand wraps on. Even when I have hand wraps on, it's very easy for me to do that. It just comes right out. which is very bad. So when I punch, right, my hand should be like here, my fingers at the tip, right? But I found myself sliding down here, so now when I punch, my wrist is so far back that when I punch, it's not covered by anything. I'm basically using my bare wrist at that point. The other thing, too, is that the wrist protection isn't horrible, because you can see I'm bending this, and it is stabilizing it backwards, but forward, it doesn't stabilize it as much. It will snap it forward. It is a little bit unbalanced as far as weight goes. It is definitely much more of a front-heavy glove. Because there's virtually no weight down here. You actually have two sections of the glove. That is the solid mold foam up here, which is great molded foam, but down here, very, very light, weak wrist strap, which just feels really cheap, I guess. Not as far as like the outer shell material, but the interior material, it just feels like a cheap rubber patch, and it feels like a cheap rubber patch all the way throughout the wrist strap here, and it's a very short, uncomfortable wrist strap that doesn't really provide the best wrist support that I thought it would, especially on the website saying that unrivaled wrist support. I think the knuckle support and the thumb support is better than the wrist support in this glove. So for me, just a couple of those things there made the glove very uncomfortable, very frustrating to use, and I really made myself, if you ever want to come to the gym, ask my coach. There were days where I made myself use these even though I was uncomfortable in them, and there was actually one day where it actually really hurt my left wrist because of that. So my left wrist had to, it still like clicks for no reason out of nowhere. It's always done that, but it does it a little bit more now, and I had to like stop using these gloves for like a week in trying them because I was so frustrated with them. But I wanted to make sure it wasn't just me. I broke the gloves in, and I've been using them ever since I got them about 7 months ago now, and 6-7 months ago I'd say, if not 8, and I just really didn't like them. It's the one Sanabul product I've really had so far that I just honestly did not care for. So with that said, guys, if you were to ask me what my rating out of 10 is for these gloves, they're $150. I think the materials on the outside are absolutely great. I think the foam is great. The engineered leather is great. I think the construction could be a little bit better. There's a ton of other gloves for $150 that I'd rather get, like anything by Top Boxer, Sabas, or some rival gloves you can get, the Superior boxing gloves, Adidas. I'm just looking around Ringside. Anything by Ringside, even Everlast Power Locks, I'd rather get over these, to be honest. And the Gold Strikes, honestly, by Sanabul, I think blew these out of the water. Not as far as build goes, as far as like the materials, but as far as performance, those gloves do a much better job. So with that said, guys, you can call it harsh if you want. I give these gloves a 5 out of 10. I was not a big fan of these gloves because of the performance. They were just very frustrating to use. $150. There's a ton of other gloves out there that I'd rather do. If they made just a couple tweaks to the glove to make it a little bit more easier, like loosening up the palm area a little bit, giving it a little bit more space in the front, just like it has in the back. If they maybe fix the wrist so it doesn't curve down so far, so I have to feel like I have to bring it open. I wish the glove wasn't so stiff so I can open and close, especially for an MMA guy when we spar and, do clinch work and stuff like that. I want to be able to open, grab, and close really easily. I cannot do that with these gloves, which makes sparring very difficult. And like I said, in general, the lining, I just wish didn't bunch up so much towards the tips of the fingers. And the biggest one, when I punch, I don't want my fingers to creep out of the glove and constantly have me pushing it back in. Very frustrating, very annoying when that happens, and I don't like that. And for me, there's just other gloves for that price range or cheaper that just perform much better than these, which absolutely sucks because I love the material that they used. I think the knuckle padding and the foam that they use is dead on. It's just the construction of the rest of the glove did not work for my hands, and I want to make sure I emphasize that. It could be the best glove that you've ever used. Could be your favorite glove. It just wasn't for me. And that's my review, and that's my opinion. So I give them a 5 out of 10 today, simply because if I were to ever use them again, it would be because I forgot something and these were the only thing available. No, I won't sell them. I collect gloves. That's my life passion. But that's a different story. But with that said, guys, I hope I answered your questions about these gloves. If you're considering buying them, I'd still get them because Sanabul definitely has a return policy. I believe I'd have to go back on the website, but I think they have like a pretty long warranty when it comes to their equipment. But trust me, if there's anything by Sanabul I'd rather get the Battle Forge Muay Thai gloves. I think they're better than these as far as comfort goes. I think the Gold Strikes are better than these as far as comfort goes and overall usability. But I think these gloves are just missing a couple things. I think if they made a 2.0 version of this with just a few little tweaks, I'd be very happy with them. But with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video and all my reviews. We're at 7.35 thousand subscribers already, which is nuts because if you've been following me on the social media pages and you've been following stuff, you know I was sick for a little while, so I hadn't been uploading for as much as I want to. I'm all clear now. I'm still getting some stuff out of my chest from the last bout of COVID I had, but in general, I'm breathing much better. I'm able to get in front of the camera and do what I love, and that is talk to you guys. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone that reached out and wished me well over the last couple months of me getting over, between pneumonia, bronchitis, COVID, some other lung thing that wound up happening with me. It's all going away, and I also hope to fight. Hopefully, fight news coming up by February of 2024. It's been a year since I've been in the cage, guys, and it is driving me crazy. One setback after the other, but finally everything looks like it's all smooth sailing. So if you have any questions or comments about these, of course, comment in the comment section below and let me know what you want me to review next. And always hit that like and subscribe button. It's a little click for you, but it goes a long way to help the channel, and it means a lot to me. On top of it, follow me on my social media pages and message me on there as well. And the email on the page is always available as well. I get emails all the time from you guys. I try and answer as much as I can. Instagram and TikTok does not always tell me that I get messages from people for some reason, but I do try and look every other day if I can, if I'm not incredibly busy, and I always try and give you the best response I can. So if you want some glove counseling, as you guys said, let me know and I'd be happy to help. But in the case of the Sanabul Lab series, I think it was a bit of a dud. Guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. I really appreciate it. Let me know what you want me to review next. If you have any questions, once again, let me know. With that said, guys, I hope you have a great day. And as always, I'll see you on the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.